Hello, everyone. I'm Janet Tarantino, the author of the award-winning book, Dying to See, Revelations about God, Jesus, Our Pathways, and the Nature of the Soul. And I'd like to welcome you today to my YouTube channel called Exploring Everything Spiritual. Please click the like button below and feel free to share any video on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe below to see future amazing videos about everything spiritual. Our guest today is fellow NDEer Yvonne Sneeden. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She grew up in Belgium, now lives in America. And prior to her NDE, Yvonne's professional career includes working in the foreign diplomatic service within Europe. This has enabled her to meet people from around the world with various backgrounds. How great is that? Through the course of her profession, she has realized that regardless of the level of social and public influence people exercise, we are all on a journey towards learning how to love. Welcome, Yvonne. I'm so glad you could be here with us today. You actually have two NDEs, right?
Yes, I had two NDEs, and welcome. Thank you so much, Janet, for welcoming me, and hello to everyone who will ever watch this video. And I hope you get something about love, you get encouraged, you feel loved by both of us, and you really are, you have a boost, an emotional and spiritual boost for your journey on earth.
So yes, this is great. We've decided we've known each other for quite some time. We met back in 2018 at the IANS conference. We were both there and made friends. And so we're going to kind of do this as a little, she's going to tell mostly her part, but she'd like to do it as a conversation too. So we'll let her concentrate on hers, and I will probably interject here and there. So how about that?
Yes, thank you so much, because it's always such a joy to meet another fellow experiencer and the experiencer, and I would love to hear as well what was your journey and how both of our journeys or experiences are so can be interconnected. I think we give another gift to the viewers as well. So thank you for accepting to do that conversation type of interview. I'll be happy with that.
My pleasure. Yes. Okay, would you like to tell us about your first NDE?
Yes, my first NDE was here in the US in 2008, and it follows a long life of a childhood with parents that were busy making money and parked my two sisters and I in an all-girl private Catholic boarding school. And then later on divorce and let us handle our life on our own. So I think I saw my parents 3 times in my life, and eventually landed a job after college at the Royal Thailand Embassy, where I was able to see dignitaries and also king and queens, the King of Thailand, the former Queen of Thailand, and the Princess of Thailand, and other dignitaries. It was just that life that you can see, in the White House in DC when they have events. So that was the same, because I grew up in Brussels, which is the capital of Europe. And so after that, I had that amazing life, but I knew within me that life was more than I felt it, because of all I had experienced as a child, and then the lack of love of parents. So I did feel that there must have been more to life than just us existing like that. I felt we were in a big play. And then that's at some point we would actually discover the real life. So fast forward, I met somebody, we became both very active Christian people in the church. I became a minister and working as well in the world. And fast forward again, we had that time together, which was amazing. But then we divorced, and I met an American man after that. And that's the reason why I moved to the US. And so after the diplomatic field, I worked also for the European Union for the one of the highest lobby within the European Union for one specific country. And after that, so I met my American man, and then I moved to the US, have another job similar, which is public diplomacy. And I was just following up what I had always done in Europe. It was just amazing. And the second marriage didn't work either. We can say that I felt, and I'm not going to speak about for him if he ever watched that one day, but I felt that there was a lot of abuse, verbal abuse. And I was able to get out of that marriage very quickly before it escalated. And and I found myself in the US with my daughter, in a country that I had to do everything from scratch. I never, it's like landing in a new planet.
Oh, yes.
It's like in a new planet. Everything is different. Medication, if you want to, Tylenol, I never knew that word. For us, we have another name for another medication, which is probably the same composition, but everything was really different. The brands at the store, I would spend 2 hours on one aisle thinking which one is a good one, which one is a bad one, and everything, was like the banking system, healthcare. I mean, everything was totally different, even though it's a Western, continent, Europe, we would think, but there were a lot of different things. And I was alone with my daughter and didn't know many people here, and suddenly just wanted to relive a new life and give her an opportunity to succeed. I had that amazing job here, public diplomacy, but then when we divorced, I thought it would be great to focus on my daughter and give her the best education, the best, that she could have the same chances and the same opportunities as every child in this country, in the US. So I switched in a career so that I could be home more. And it was amazing because I found that new career in the IT industry, that company I'm working for, amazing. And I've been working for since, very positive, very respectful company that usually everyone loves to. And that was perfect fit. But so it was a perfect, because I could work from home as many times as I wanted. So I could be there for my daughter for all her activities. And she's quite an artist. She sings, she plays piano, guitar, she sings, she was in voice class, and she draws amazingly well. So I'm so glad I was able to give her all those opportunities. And today she's a very successful therapist. She has a master from UNC Chapel Hill. So she's really, I'm so proud because we did it together, just the two of us in the US. But that's what led to my NDE, because my first one, I had such a life where where I had to always thrive by myself and work through life to make it successful, didn't have the support of parents. I had two sisters, and when my parents divorced, we all scattered to survive in a way. And then we got back together. They are amazing. And later on, I rediscovered two brothers that came and found us. So it was, but the time we all had our life trying to survive, and I was on my own in Brussels when I was not even 17 years old, and put myself to college, all totally on my own. I mean, no support, and worked at night, weekends, just to make it, and then landed that amazing job at the embassy. And that's, so that was different. But all those things that I had lived, childhood, youth, and then the first marriage that didn't work, we are still great friends today. It just didn't work. We respect each other. And the second one wasn't that happy. I moved everything, everything I knew from Europe here in the US to be in a not kind marriage. So I had to rebuild everything here. And that's what, little by little, working so hard and evening for my daughter, I developed what we call arrhythmia. And I went to the cardiologist. We put the machine on for a few days, and then he said that I had all the symptoms of arrhythmia, and then he gave me some medications in order to take them when I had a crisis, and I specify when I had a crisis. And so about 2 weeks before my first NDE, something in me was telling me that I was going to die. For some mysterious reason, I was so sure of that.
So you had a premonition then. You had a premonition you were going to die. And then can you explain to the audience what arrhythmia is?
Yeah, of course. Arrhythmia is actually a condition where your heartbeat is now not regular. It can go extremely fast. It can beat very fast. And for everyone here, when you hear my accent, I'm French. So thank you for your patience with my accents if sometimes so. But so it's arrhythmia. And the heart beats so fast that you an impression that it's going to explode and you're just going to have a heart attack and you die. So that's the feeling you have. So he gave me, and it's absolutely terrifying. And I would have it over and over, and especially when I would lay down in the evening. For some reason, that's when it started most of the time. And so he gave me those medication, and I said, and at the same time as that, I just felt that I was going to die, that actually everything on this earth, I was done with it. I was not suicidal, but I felt I'm not interested in anything that's happening in this life anymore. I'm moving on. It's very weird. I've never had that feeling ever again in my life or before, but it's almost like you were doing scuba diving for so many years, and then some days you say, you know what, I'm done with that, I want to ski. And and it was almost like I'm done with Earth, which doesn't make sense because I had my daughter to raise, but something in me was just giving me an incredible peace about dying. And I felt that all my battery of life to survive, because we all hang out so hard to life, even when we're extremely sick and at the hospital, we're still going to hold on to the life. But at that time, I had lost that hold down feeling. I had lost it. I was no longer holding on. It's a very special feeling that I never felt again after it was totally done. And so 2 weeks later, my first NDE happened. So later on, when I went to the anesthetist Duke, I was told that those medications can have two side effects. The first one is sleep apnea, and this other one was a heart stop. So my first one, I am reading, and then I lay my head on the bed, and I see myself instantly looking up to my lifeless body. And I am just looking at that without feeling that anything is abnormal. And at the end of my bed is those two beings of light with beautiful white long robe. And they are actually very similar, a clone of each other, whitish, blondish hair. And inside them, it's like light. And they're very peaceful, but also very strong and very mighty. I could feel that they were sent by, you can use any word you want, the divine God, the light, the source. It's all the same to me. And I could feel they had that divine presence and might and peace, but also I could feel that being with these beings, nothing in the whole universe, galaxies, dimensions could ever happen to me. I felt that security, and then they said to me telepathically, Yvonne, it's time to go. It's like, you're done with this life. We are leaving now. You're done. And I always said that because I have a wonderful daughter. And when I did my I did a documentary called Back from the Light, where I interviewed experiencers, and I interviewed my daughter, and she broke my heart. I was so sad when I heard her say, well, I didn't mean that much to her, that she didn't want to come back, or she was happy to leave. And I said, oh, now I will put that in it when I share my story, because I just want to tell people that once we are in the spirit world, it is almost like you have a total amnesia of what just happened on earth all your life. You don't even think of it. You live in the moment, in the present. And everything that happened, it's like a curtain has been closed behind you. And I just didn't think my daughter was there. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just thinking, yes, that's the right thing to do. I have to go with those beings. That's what I'm supposed to do. And so when they said that, I just looked at them, and behind them was like a spaceship of light that was just open like that. And so there's that element in the first one. And I know that sometimes when I share the story with my friends that are Christians, I just want to say that in the Bible, they even have Enoch or all those beings that have seen chariots of fire. And back then they would say fire because electricity, light didn't exist yet. So they had to describe that in a certain way. So it was chariot of fire with all those lights. And so to me, I did see behind them, there was that big, very sleek, white, pearly white, just very modern, very futurist, so like a saucer, I would say. I mean, I don't know how to say, like a spaceship, and it was all open. And they were with that white robe, and then they say, Yvonne, it's time, we're leaving. And I said, yeah, that's what I have to do. And I went in between them, and when we went inside it, each of them sat to my right and left. And again, I felt total peace. Anything could happen. I would never be in danger with those two incredibly powerful beings. And so the top closed, and the angelic being, I will say an angelic being, because it looked like it wasn't what we would think of an angel, actually with his left hand pushed a handle very softly. And in 1 second, we had literally crossed the entire universe.
Oh, cool.
I mean, my second one is totally different, but this one was the one, and we arrived in a very illuminated place. It was really like 1 second. I can still feel the feeling of it. And when I arrived to this extremely lit place, there were about, I don't know, 20 beings. They were not dressed with white long robe. They were just more like with suit or like pant style. And they were all looking, but they're all made of light. Inside their body was just pure divine light. There is no bones, no muscles, no blood. It's all made of light. And they were all so happy to see me. They were like, she's here, she's here, she's here, she's back, she's back, she's back. And that was big for me, because I was raised in my Christian faith that we were just born here on earth, and that was it. We never existed before. And yet they were saying she's back, which meant I existed before. And it was just amazing. And I felt like I was home. I felt I am home. I'm finally with my tribe, with my real family. And I could sense the immense love they had for me, and the care that I had never felt with parents, like you belong and you're ours, and we're happy to have you back home. And I felt like, oh my God, what was that horrible nightmare on earth? I felt like I was waking up from a nightmare and being finally completely awake with this beautiful family.
That's amazing. Kind of reminds me of, I took care of my parents during their last 5 years of their life. And they promised to share with me everything they experienced during their dying process, because they knew of my 3 NDEs, and they knew they could share anything with me, and I wouldn't discount it or disregard it in any way. So that was amazing. But Dad died, and Mom then, because we thought Mom would die first because she was the worst, but it was Dad that passed, and he told us earlier in the year that he was going to die young, that he die before Mom, because he overheard two doctors having a conversation saying that he would die first. And he did indeed die first. But the doctors, we never had two male doctors, but he had an episode the day before that, and like a mini stroke, and he was laying on his bed looking up toward heaven like this, and I think he was hearing the spiritual doctors that were there to assist him through that episode. So, but what I'm getting to is he died before Mom, and 9 days later she died. And during that process between his death and her death, more prominent people in her life came in and visited with her spiritually. I mean, she saw people that had died from high school that she knew, and relatives that had passed away, and my brother Doug that had passed away from a major heart attack. And then she saw my dad, and she said, "Dick," and I said, "You saw Dad?" She said, "Yeah." And I asked her what she looked like, and she said, "He looks so sharp." And she was so happy to see his face. And during that period of time also, she kept saying, she could see up in heaven. She said, "I see a gathering happening." And every day it was getting bigger. More people were coming to the gathering because she was getting close to dying. And when she was talking to Dad, she was kind of between both worlds, because my sister and I were both there. My sister opened a bag of chips. And so Mom was looking up and she was talking to Dad, and she said, "What do you got?" She asked Diane what she had, and it was chips. And then she went back and talked to Dad again. And she said, she kept saying, "Don't let her fall, don't let her fall." It was like she was talking about some kind of platform that there was more people there. And one lady was kind of losing her balance, and she said, "Oh, help her get up, help her get up." So I don't know what that was, but it sounds similar to that platform. Maybe they had collected some more souls and they were on their way to heaven.
Yeah.
She died the next morning.
The next morning. Oh wow. And she was it's beautiful for us to see that both of them died, and it happens so often when couples have been very close, that they die very quickly from one another. But when she said platform, did she say platform? That was the word she was using?
No, but that's kind of the way she was talking. She kept saying, "Don't let her fall, don't let her fall." And what else can it be?
Yeah, and it reminds me of an experience that I had also. Sometimes you have, and I hope people will not think it's all totally insane now, but sometimes and I have talked with other experiencers that have also experienced that you can be in the platform in the middle of the universe, just like that. There's a platform, and that's another experience I had with kind of a guide or somebody or teacher. We were on a platform looking at the entire universe and planets, and he was teaching me. So we can have just platforms. That's what I was asking you. It reminded me that experience that I had as well, and other experiences have told me have had also. But thank you for sharing that. It's
that
amazing.
kind of made sense to what she said. So that very well. I mean, there's been people that have been come and picked up in ships, like
I had
ocean ships, so it just depends on, what the person would be comfortable with, or, the manner you get there doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way it is either. So.
And I like when you say how the person is comfortable with, because I never knew anything about alien or extraterrestrial, and because I was really in the church and normally they don't believe in that. So it was out of my mind even to believe that I would experience something like that. But it makes sense when you say what people are comfortable with, because they knew that I would be more comfortable to be inside a container than just flying through the universe. My sister had a near-death experience. My two sisters in Europe had near-death experiences too. And one of them, with a guardian angel, flew through the universe, but just free fly. And she said it was magnificent. She saw all the stars and the planet. So maybe she's more, my sister is more adventurous than I am. And maybe, like you said, that was more comfortable with me to just be in that and then arrive. Maybe. So it makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's great. And then I noticed that I wanted to ask you, through your childhood, you had a difficult childhood where you're trying to survive as children on your own. What did that teach you? Did that, was that like a portion of your life that you learned strength and how to overcome situations? Because these are all lessons, right?
yes, they're all lessons. As we know, we sign up on Earth to have our journey. And I've always thought of that. I said, what did I sign up for to learn? But, growing up, I was always telling people when they say, oh, I'm sorry, you will never have your parents. I said, are you kidding me? I was raised directly by the divine. To me, it was an honor to be raised by. That's how I felt. That's maybe why how I succeeded in life. Maybe I was, convincing myself also. I don't know, but I was really saying, no, God raised me, and it never failed for me. I mean, I was always, for somebody who was alone, I worked in diplomacy. I saw the biggest people in that we call one society on earth, which we know everyone is equal, but back then. I always had doors open. But what it taught me, and I feel so blessed, so happy that I had that difficult childhood, because it really, even before my NDE, it increased in me compassion for others and love for others that suffer, people that do not have their own voice, vulnerable people. So I've always been very sensitive to people in need, and I don't think I would have developed that level of compassion and empathy before my NDE if I hadn't had that type of life before. I was a very wise child, even though I was on my own. I've never been drunk. I never took drugs because I was thinking, okay, you are on your own. If anything happens to you, nobody will be there to carry you up. So you're on your own. So you better be careful everything you do to do it well. So, but it was a long life, and I was tired. And when I arrived to that place, and everybody was welcoming me, we had that big celebration. Like when you have a birthday party and you are the birthday girl. So everybody was trying to help me, give me anything. They were serving me. Do you want this? How can we help you? That's how they were talking to me. Do you need anything? And the beauty of it, it's that it's like that in heaven for everyone. Everyone treats each other like that. We are not the center of interest. The other is. The other is the one, how we can, it's a selfless love. It's the other is highlighted and celebrated. And I think that's the ultimate level of love, is when we can put others before us in situations. So, but that's how they were with me, and we were catching up. But then at some point, one of the women there came and women beings came and she took my face with her in her hands and like that, and she said to me, your experience on planet Earth is such a difficult one. And as I said, I just gave you a tiny summary of my life, but there's been way more trauma and sadness. But I was always a positive child beside all that. And I said, yeah, it's just like horrible. It's very difficult. It was so horrible. And then she said to me, but you have to go back. You have to go back before that container, which is your body there, that container, you can't reintegrate that body, can get in anymore. So you have to go back now. And when she said that, those two beings were back. And the same way we came, we went back to that container of light. And in literally 1 second, we were back. And I did feel my spirit coming back into my body, like shoop, getting back. So that was my very first one. And so that was really, I was just happy when I said, I cannot believe. And also I was so stunned because it did not correspond at all to what I was taught in my own faith. I said, okay, what was that? I was not expecting a spaceship of light and things like that. So it was really, I had to open up my spirit, but that came later after the second NDE.
Okay, let's hear about that though.
Well, do you want to share something about you before
I was disconnected in my near-death experiences too, when my spirit left my body. Emotionally kind of not that I forgot because I did remember my daughter and I remembered the family and the life I led, but I was disconnected too, because you're in that environment of love and you don't want to go back. But then after having these experiences, now that I'm back, I don't want to leave because life is exciting. Yeah. So, I mean, if you think that our spirit in that, at least in that transitioning area there, that you're disconnected from the body, I think our spirits are working in tandem with the physical body, because the physical body it's kind of an energetic, without our energy, because our energy of God, within our spirit, that body wouldn't move forward. It's the energy of the spirit that actually gives that body the power to move forward.
Movement. And I'm so glad you say that, because I have created a workshop that we do. We have an NDE retreat. It's the 6th one that we have with several experiencers that we every year for the 6th year now in October, we have in Virginia Beach, we have a retreat for experiencers only. And we always limit it to 25 people so we can have that intimate connection. And I often do spiritual workshops there, and I have created a workshop with a friend of mine who also is a near-death experiencer, and she is also a therapist and a dance therapist. So we have created that exercise because oftentimes experiencers, they don't like their body. They said, well, we are not this body, we're not this body. But what you're saying, I love what you said, because we in a way are the body, because that spirit makes the body move, and that's the spirit and the body are one while we are on earth, and both are important. And because we hear a lot in our communities that, oh, we're not this body, we're just the spirit, this body is a pain. I didn't like my body, I didn't want to get back to my body. And it is true, it is a trauma, because we have seen who we are as spirits, and all the expanse that we are, and the abilities we have, and the joy. And it is true that the body can be challenging, especially for us experiencers who had traumas in their body before the experience. So the body, we have that weird relationship with it. But I love that you said that the spirit is breathing life to the body, and they work together in perfect synchronicity and help us. And so the body can be also respected, because it enables us to have this earthly experience. So that workshop that I do, it's really to reconnect the both together through a meditation that has been worked to help in a very gentle environment, to help people reconnect both together. And it's amazing. So I'm excited that you share that.
Yeah, because during my third near-death experience, a lot happened there. But when I decided to stay, I was a blue spiritual essence, is what I was, and color of the sky on a beautiful day is what my spirit looked like. And when I decided to stay, I sat my butt down in my physical butt, and I put a spirit foot into each one of Jan's physical feet. And then but not all the way. And I grabbed my spiritual knees with my spiritual hands, and I rocked back and forth in Jan's body until I could get enough momentum to lay down and help her sit up and gasp for air, because I had
so beautiful.
I had suffocated for an allergy. So if I had not sat down in her body and given her the energy to sit up and gasp for air, then she would have died. So without our energy, our spirit energy, then the physical body dies.
That vehicle, it's like a vehicle that needs to be connected with the spirit to be. So that's beautiful what you share. And when you share that you're a blue spirit, I just want to tell you that my friend with who I do that, I do those workshops, the therapist, she had a second accident. She didn't have an NDE. She fell on her. She was biking and a car hit her, and a motorcycle. And she had an extremely difficult concussion for staying for months in the dark. And she had two blue beings that came to her to help her heal. They were helping, they were there. She could see them like she see each other. So I want to tell you that because you were talking about your blue essence, and she saw blue essence beings as well that came to help her through her whole healing process. And her husband couldn't see them, could feel them in the room. It's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Okay, let's go on to your next.
The next one. Well, you see, so I was taking those medications. I didn't realize until I talked with the Duke anesthetist that it was a medication and she said, you're so fortunate to be alive, because patients would not be necessarily alive with what happened to you, and you taking those medications. The thing is, the second time I took the medication because I was afraid to have a crisis, which I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, if I take the medication, I'm not going to if a crisis comes, I'm not going to have it. But actually, if I don't have any crisis and I take a medication to slow down the heart, you see what it happened. I wasn't thinking it would do that. I thought it was just stabilizing it. So I always said that I unconsciously, involuntarily overdosed with my body. That's all I said that. And so I am there. I've taken the medication. I'm reading a book. I'm on the sofa, and then suddenly I feel all my organs shutting down. And instantly, I am in the most amazing bright light. Instantly. So I didn't feel the moment of death because I was instantly in the light. And I was just basking in that beautiful, effervescent, joyful, peaceful energy of life that was, I would say, God or the light or source, anything you want to word it. Words are are words because we have to communicate with each other with words here. And then we get into all those arguments about words. No, it was the light. No, it was source. But when we are in that world, those words, we are in the spirit world. So we understand instantly what it is in our soul, in our spirit. We don't need words to define what it is. We just know what it is. We are in it. We are it at the same time. So I was in that pure, amazing light. And I felt what the highest level of happiness and joy that exists all together, period, in every dimension, in every world, in everything it is. I was basking in that pure bliss of life and love and joy and peace. anything that was negative had just disappeared. It was just any positive emotion was what I was experiencing, and I was too. So it was just the most amazing moment. And like a pure spirit that I was again, I was who I was eternally, probably before I came to my body. I was that perfect, beautiful, blissful, divine spirit within divine God. And at some point when I was just in it for a while, that's when I saw, coming from a distance, I saw that spirit, that being that was even brighter than the light I was in. And that spirit just was floating or hovering very elegantly, very gracefully. It was just an outline of light. I couldn't make up his face or anything. It was just an outline and a very circular face like that. And it was just flying very gently towards me like that. And then it came above me and it just flew like, hovering very gently above me. And it was just looking at me while it was hovering. It was looking at me like,
No.
amazing. She's beautiful. She's mine. She's just, the love, like a parent's, a mother look at her first born baby, and it's like, wow, she's, and the love. And it was just looking at me, and then it kissed me everywhere. And like a mother kiss their first, we kiss the child everywhere we can. And I was just basking in that love and basking in that tenderness. And that being just engulfed me with perfect love, like a father and a mother, the perfect parental love that I had never experienced on earth. That's what I was feeling just then. I was feeling that. And it was just engulfing me, and I felt the best in the whole universe. I could sense that there are such myriads of galaxies and myriads of planets behind. It was just that immensity, and yet I was cradled in that beautiful being's arm, and it was loving me like I had never ever been loved before. And when it hugged me and embraced me, and there's a voice, the voice of God, of source, of light, that said to me, "This is Jesus." And Jesus was a he and a she at the same time. It was not genderless. It was a two energy, the masculine and the feminine, into one single unit, loving me completely. On earth, you have the male energy, the female energy, and we can sense it. When we talk to somebody, we can sense their energy. But over there, it was a perfect energy, and it makes sense. Everything was reunited. And I felt like a child that was in my parents' arm, and nobody could ever do anything to me because they were the strongest being, and they would always protect me if anything happened. That's how I felt. I felt his love. I'll say his because that's how we portray Jesus here, because he's a her saying that all the time. So I felt his love and his compassion, but he's also his tenderness, kindness, affection, goodness. The goodness was overwhelming everything. The loving goodness was overwhelming, and he was just hugging me, holding me, loving me like I had never been. And it was just amazing. I didn't want to move out of that. I just wanted to stay there for centuries and eons. It was timeless. I had no time. There's no time, and then, do you want me to go on, or you want to say something? Because as I continue, or do you want me to go on?
Yeah, go ahead, because you're in a good part here.
Okay. And when I felt that, something in me, and you will connect, you will relate to that, because in that world, in heaven or in the light, or it's all about knowing. You know everything. You know instantly what's gonna. You know, people don't have to tell you anything. You know, it's everything is a knowing. I knew that at some point I would be asked to go back to Earth, and that thing was there. That was kind of knowing my amazing blissful moment. And I just said to Jesus then, I said, Jesus, I was dating somebody again on Earth, and it was again not going well. I mean, I've not been the luckiest woman there. You know, my career has always been amazing, successful, open doors, but on the emotional side, I guess not as well. And I was in a Christian, church and everything, and so we always pray to know, oh, is it the will of God? Is this man the will of God? Is this woman the will of God for my life? And then you get all stressed about that, because you don't know if it's a will. While I learned during the NDE that you have love in you, and you're free to explore what makes you happy, what you feel is right in your heart. Not other people have to tell you. You're there to enjoy your life and explore. So when I was with Jesus and I knew I had to come back, I asked Jesus, what do I have to do with Steve on Earth? And Steve is a fake name that I give so that we don't recognize a person. I said, what do I have to do with Steve on Earth? Do I have to stay with him? Because I was just, he was gonna go, I was going to go back in my life. And that's the moment Jesus lifted in the air from cradling me, lifted in the air, and then a screen appeared. He opened a screen that appeared, and on that screen you had two square, form, when you fill forms, and then you have to tick yes or no. Well, there was a yes and a no, and there was that form, and it was like a big screen, like a TV or computer screen or movie screen that had just appeared, and he was standing there next to it, in the air like that, and he said he ticked the no, and then he said, you have to say no to the relationship, no. But at the same time, he was telling me that he was loving Steve the same way he loved me. And he was explaining me all kinds of things. The beauty in that world, it's not a linear time where we say one thing and then we have to wait for the second. It's almost like a stacked time, because many things can happen at the same time, or many explanations, and you understand everything. And he was telling me so many things about Steve, about me, and at the same time I could understand everything at once. And I did ask him, well, why is Steve always mean with his word when we are in a conflictual situation? And Jesus then came back from that screen, moved kind of a little bit forward, like backward, and he was just in front of me with total peace, but total neutrality as well. And he said to me, very neutral, like when you ask a question on Google and the answer comes, there is no judgment. He said to me, it's not working, because he had said, you have to say no. He had told me, you have to say no on that screen there. He said, you have to say no to the relationship. So he said, well, it's because Steve has decided to live his life on Earth, to experience his life on Earth through his mind primarily. You have decided to experience your life on Earth through your heart primarily. And he was kind of explaining that the two would always clash because of it. But there was no judgment that Steve was less than me and I was so much more spiritual because it was from the heart. It was just a difference in connection. And he said that. So if you want, I can stop here because there's more. If you want me to say, if you want to, it reminds you of something, or if you want to share something.
It does several things there. Let's see, you talked about it's a lesson, and that's kind of God will create more or less a a catastrophe, when you're not moving on and you're supposed to, because sometimes we do get ourselves into situations that are not good for us. Right. And so that's kind of what he did in my third near-death experience. I had a good man, but he had a bit of a temper. Now, he was not a physical abuser, but he did blame me for everybody else's mistakes, because I was the fall guy, I guess you could say. Yeah. But not all the time. It was only periodically. But and it came from his childhood, and he never took care of it. And we don't know what people have in their lifetimes of experience. So we have no clue when these things happen. So there can be like 10 people in a room, and look how many experiences they're having. They're having experiences with this moment in time, with the interaction between all the 10 people. And they're also still reliving their trauma from their childhood. So it carries forward into everything. And you just can't judge people by by what you're appearing to do. You do have to follow your heart. And in my before my third near-death experience, I was in a car accident, and that car accident made me have some myoclonic seizures, which was handled through medication, and they were very not noticeable. But 6 years after that, something happened. My life fell apart. I mean, everything was going great. I was married, but the electrical shocks came back, and they started being really bad. And so I started stuttering, slapping myself, because, when you get bit by a mosquito and it stings, you hit it. But here I am, I'm getting them all over my body, and I'm sitting in a meeting, product planning meeting, and I'm slapping my face, and then I'm slapping my arm because I'm getting these electrical shocks. And so, yeah. Yeah. So, but that was the start of what he was going to move me on in life. And once I had the near-death experiences, especially the third one, I was very attuned to emotions. And so I think a lot of us as near-death experiencers we've been in that loving environment, that even things that people think are normal these days sometimes are their trauma to us as a near-death experiencer, because that's not the environment that we were in, nor do we want that kind of thing anymore. So so we can't judge people by what they do, because we don't know what made them. We just either have to remove ourselves from the situation, and sometimes God will get us along in life by doing things around us that push us into another direction, rather than staying in a bad situation.
I really love what you said, because it also resonates with me as well. First of all, I'm sorry that you had that, physical, and also the husband that put the blame on you. That's very hard to handle, especially when you're a loving soul, trying to be the best version of yourself. So I'm sorry you went through all that as well. And but it resonates with me what you said, because before my NDE, I would also let everyone a little bit walk all over me, because I was so sweet and kind, and wanting, maybe like you said, the fact that I didn't have any parents in my childhood, maybe I was desperately wanting to be loved and be, recognized, because when you are not in that boarding school, it was for, well-off people. So everyone was going on vacation on Christmas, Easter, summer vacation, but my parents paid doubled, so that we could stay, the two sisters and me would stay during the summer, every vacation. We saw them only 9 years later. So maybe all those relations, I wanted, and finding, when I became, when I turned my life to Christ many years ago before my NDE, I had found love, because I could see Jesus' life was just unconditional love and non-judgment, helping people. And for me, it resonated really with who I was. And so I wanted to be the best version of myself, that sometimes people would take advantage of me and of my kindness. And that's what changed with my NDE. Like you said, as soon as after that, you have been bathed in the perfect love, in the perfect world, and you are awakened to who you really are. And you've seen how, when you're connected with the unconditional eternal love that God gives you, or the light gives you, you are transformed. It's almost like all your traumas of childhood, it's kind of healing it in a way, because you had the perfect love embracing you. So from that moment on, like you said, as soon as I would connect with somebody, to try to date again, and I can feel that they are still on their path of the journey that is very difficult. The life on earth is a very difficult journey, and that's why, like you said, I don't want to judge anyone, because we're all on a different path, a different level of path of our journey, but it's a very difficult, and with traumas, and they come with their traumas in the relationship, like you said, and I would see that. And even though I would really, really, really want to be with somebody, but if I would see the blame on me, like you had, because of their own hurts, and they cannot face something that has to be worked on, instead they will project that on you. I would see it's not going to work, and I would just have to detach myself. And you see the sign, because as experiencers, we are so extra sensitive that we see the sign very quickly, and it's almost like you have already analyzed everything, because you have that filter is now you remove those filters and you can see through. And even though they're amazing beings, people, that you prefer to be alone or on your own, and then meet somebody who is going to be, like a friend of mine said so lovingly. He said, Yvonne, next time you meet somebody, make sure that he meets you where you are. And he has understood that. Mm-hmm. And you can be on a great journey together, and not him trying to heal himself by how he treats you. And that is really a big lesson, and I have followed that. If I see somebody lacking of love and the pride is there, or as it seems picky, but it's not. It's actually wanting to live on the foundations of love and respect and kindness, and I think many experiencers, and maybe that's why so many experiencers are on their own after an experience. There are 70% of divorce, 70% of people divorced. And I do believe that we experiencers are such a gift, and I'm not trying to boast or say something, because I've had a lot of suffering, I've made a lot of mistakes, but we're also a gift because we are offering something that's actually kind and pure, and not a game playing, but just offering a person to have that journey. But then we will close if it's harming us. Because we can live on our own now and bloom as well. So it's a whole, I understand what you said. I explored that for myself. And some people say, go online, go on an app. You need to meet somebody. You need to meet somebody, be with somebody. And I'm like, no, if somebody has to come in my path, he will come in my path. We will meet, but I'm just not there. For me, other people, it might be their way. But for me, I can live with that peace on my own as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, that's being loving yourself as well.
Loving yourself. Yeah, you see. And I love everyone. I think many people are amazing. I'm not trying to say I'm better than everyone. In a way, we are more sensitive than everyone as well. So, but I think we're a gift, whether men or women. I think we're a gift to another. I have a friend who is an NDE experiencer. He's an amazing friend in Australia. And he was explaining to me that he had a hard time dating, because when you're an experiencer and you've been in the light and the love, you don't necessarily look at a woman because she looks hot or she's sexy or she has a beautiful face or beautiful body. When you have a genuine experience like that, he wanted to know the soul and he wanted to know the heart. So it would take longer talking with the person and wanting to know where she was. And then so the woman would feel rejected because he didn't want to make love with her for quite a long time, because he was attracted to her soul, before, and he wanted to respect her and didn't feel that using a body before understanding the soul of who the person, he felt it was an invasion to the woman's freedom. And I thought it was just amazing how beautiful he was phrasing it. So you see, all those things, we're talking about the after effect of an NDE. Who we are after is such but I think it's a beautiful self. After that experience, would you mind to go, if I go quickly to explain why I became that as well? Is that after that experience with asking Jesus all those, I also asked him why people, while we were there, and I knew for Steve, I also asked him why people on earth were racist, because I had decided to come on earth as a minority, apparently. Because we choose, as we know, before we come on earth, we are all similar spirits of light, and we're all made of light, but we choose who we want to be on earth, what color, what family, what country, what race. And so I asked Jesus, and maybe that was also an experience that I wanted to experience, what it felt to be sometimes ostracized or sometimes rejected. And when you learn that, I think it was a way, when all of us, when we come on earth, every injuries we get from people, it's because God is perfect love, and we live in that love before coming to earth. And when we come on earth, we want to learn what real love is, what the light of love is, and how can we learn it if it is by the lack of that love, in different behavior, in different stories, in different emotions, and because then we value it even more. And for me, that's what happened. I value it, and I value people because I know where they come from. And so Jesus told me, when I asked him that question, I would have expected anything except what he said. He said he went again in that mode of neutrality, not wanting to judge anyone when he said that, but he said, it is because of their self-centeredness. It's because of their self-centeredness. And I would never have thought that I would. And when I say racist, I want to be clear, it's in all the different colors. It's not only white against one color, it's every color against everyone. I've traveled every continent except Australia, and I've seen racism in all the directions. So when I say that, I'm talking about everyone, so nobody has to feel uncomfortable. So, but I would have thought, geographical area, bringing traumas that happened to them with that specific race. I would have thought anything but that. And he was explaining that when we are self-centered, we want to be only with people that remind us of us. Remind them of me. I want to be with people that remind me of me. Everything they do, they say, the color of the skin, everything they are will remind me. So me is the point of comparison in all that. And so because of that self-centeredness, we're centering ourselves on self. We don't want anything that would make us feel different, that would not connect us with us. We don't want that, and we feel in danger and jeopardized. But the beauty of moving away from self and trying to risk to go into unknown land by trying to meet somebody who is totally different from us, we are achieving leaps of victory because then we are understanding that selfless attention, it is selfless love. We can grow and learn so much from that difference and grow as a being ourselves. So that was amazing when he explained all that. So after a few things, I'm going to fast forward, but after a few conversations, we proceeded outside of the light. And as we proceed outside of the light, there was that amazingly incredible, beautiful city of light that I can call the celestial city, the crystal city. It is the heavenly city. It was just magnificent. The buildings were really big, tall, white, but so shining that they looked like crystals. That's why I call them the crystal city. Wide avenues, and I was just so excited to go back home. I knew that was home. That was my home, and I was just walking past, and and Jesus actually had come to my left here, and he had taken a feature that were more visible. Now I could see eyes, nose, and everything. I could see his robe, white robe, and he was more like a human, with light inside, of course, but more feature like we are now looking at each other. And he was just on the left, and I was just walking really fast. I'm going home. I'm going home. It's like you're going on vacation in Fiji Island, at the Fiji Island. It's like it's going to be amazing. The white sand, the blue. It's just like I'm going. And I was walking, and then as I was just speeding, I felt that some people were coming to my left, and then when I turned around, it was children angels. They were about 9 years old, 8, 9, 10, between that 9 and 10. And they were about a dozen of them. They had circular face like that, and they had this white robe also. And these beings had wings. That's how I knew they were angels, because the one that picked me up didn't, and the one that welcomed me in the first NDE didn't. Were beings like us, but these one would be angelic beings because of the wings. The wings were tiny. And later when I came back here and I asked friends, why were their wings so tiny? We always see angels with big wings like that. And then my friend said something that makes sense. He said, because they were closed. You don't see birds always with their wings open, they also close them. So, and it makes sense. And those beings were about a dozen, and they were walking towards that celestial city too. And I have to say that heaven is very vibrant. It's not like, like when we go to all our spiritual events, so everybody has to be quiet. Nobody can say one thing and another. Shh. Every religion is like that. Every spiritual place is like that. And then you look very spiritual if you stay in silence, not talking to anyone. You're just, he's really spiritual. He's meditating. But I can say that in that world, it's all very vibrant. Everybody's exciting to do whatever they are doing, and it's loud, it's happy. And so those beings are walking also like that, going to that city. And one of them turned around to look at me, and then just like I was a normal being, there was no surprise for him to look at me. But when it actually looked who was next to me and saw that it was Jesus, his face, that was very circular, became pure light. You couldn't make up the feature anymore. You couldn't make up, I'm so sorry. You couldn't make up any feature anymore. It was just light. The face was just a pure light. And then when those other beings looked at what was happening, and so Jesus too, they all lit up like light, and they ran into Jesus' arms, all of them, the dozen of them. And he could take them all into his arms, because that world is a world of light and energy, and we can reach all and be one together and merge with one another. It's an amazing world. And he was so inclusive in loving them. And he said to them with a lot of inclusivity and acceptance, he said to them with so much love, he said, it's Yvonne's moment. It's Yvonne's moment. Go back to your mothers. And when I turned around, I saw women's angels. They were magnificent, like 10 foot high, white long robes, also had little wings and small ones, and they had hair to the knees, and they were all different shade, and they were just there looking at me with reverence and respect and kindness. And in that world, that's how we are with everyone, with just that kindness, that respect, that reverence. And I guess it's not because I was such a high celebrity, or I think it's either because everyone treats this that way, and also because Jesus was with me. And also we treat each other like that in that world. And they looked at me and they said, Yvonne, you're home. We will never hurt you. We will never harm you. You are one of us, and you are home. And, you know, I had had such a horrible life. I mean, positive, working, but always striving on my own. Didn't have any help for anything. I made myself. Financially, never had any penny from anyone. Raised my daughter on my own. Didn't have a penny from financial, you know, when you divorce or anything, nothing. So I was, you know, I never had received anything from anyone. And I build myself, and now I'm a leader. I lead teams in the IT industry. I have a really successful career. But hearing you are one of us, we will never harm you, we'll never hurt you, was just immense for me. It was, I wanted to stay home there. I just felt like, you know, and I asked Jesus, I said, Jesus, I just don't want to go back to earth. After that, I said, I just don't want to go back to earth. I want to stay here. This is home. That planet Earth. And I was totally detached, like you were detached of your body on Earth. I was totally detached of Earth. There was total detachment. And I said, that planet is so violent.
No.
It's a very violent planet. And many people are mean and selfish. And I said, and the beauty of heaven, you can say whatever you feel,
Yeah, sure.
and don't feel condemned. Oh, she was mean to say that, and you know that judgment. It is a reality. It is a reality that this planet is violent. There's all those wars. People are killing each other. Also, people generally take care of themselves. There are not many generous people that just randomly will go and see somebody, you know, homeless person, and say, listen, I have that much money in my bank account. I'll just put you in a rental place for 6 months so that you can be back into your career. I mean, who does that? And, you know, it's a violent planet. And if we don't work on this planet Earth, if we don't work, we are on the street and we die. Because that's the rule of this planet. The standard is you work, you make money, then you can have a house, you can eat, and you can go to the doctor. But if you don't work, that's the concept of this planet, is that not everybody's strong. Not everybody's strong. I feel like I was really strong to fight and be where I am on my own, but not everybody's strong. But some people are vulnerable and maybe have had such a horrible childhood that they can't succeed and they don't receive the love that we should receive to heal. So it's a violent planet because you don't eat, you don't work, you die, period, yeah. Or you in the street. And so I was telling Jesus, I just don't like that planet. I can't relate to that world. I want to stay here. This is home here. And I could feel that it was like, you know, like I would like that, but it's impossible. Like that's where you are going to have to go. That was the meaning. And then I said to him, I still remember looking at him like that. And I said, if you make me go back to earth, I'll be beyond exhaustion. I can't do that anymore. I can't. I'll be beyond exhaustion. And it was still like, and then I tried the last thing and I said, and anyway, that body on earth is totally broken. I can go back in that, you know. And instead of him saying, welcome home, you have accomplished your mission, just come and everybody's going to welcome you and cheer you on. No, instead of that, he lifted in the air and he became like half a mile high, and he became like a huge hologram. He became like a huge hologram of light. And I can tell, if you want, I saw you write something, but if you want, I can tell that. And that's the last portion of my story, but
Okay.
that's the last, but I saw you write things. And if you want to tell me, if you want me to, share something, I'm all ear.
Yeah, we were talking about our similarities, and you were talking about the children angels. Before my mom passed away, and actually about life here on Earth. Well, it'll make sense when I tell you about it. When her death time was getting closer, she was weak and she liked to sit in the living room recliner and watch television and fall asleep there. But so one day when I came into the living room, she was she was like this, had her hand up like this, and she was chuckling and going like this. And I said, "What's going on, Mom?" She said, "They're showing me naked bodies of men." And then she said, "Now they're showing me naked bodies of women." And I think she was picking out her next body.
Oh, wow, yes.
Yeah. And then I was, she said, because she was not, she was a Lutheran, heavy Lutheran, and this was kind of outside of her sphere for her. I said, and then the next time I came into the living room, she was pondering, or she had been sleeping. She woke up and she said, "I get it now." I said, "What do you mean, I get it?" And she said, "We're eternal beings because we keep going in and out and in and out." So it was in that same time frame. So that's why I said, "You mean reincarnation?" And she said, "Yes." And so it was right in that same time frame. I said, "Do you know who you're going to be next?" And she said, "No, I didn't catch that part of it. But we do pick out our bodies before we come to this world." And so we whether or not we are aware of the adversities the body may have, or if it's just like we're picking out an automobile, that might be I'm not sure which one is the case. Although I have interviewed other near-death experiences who chose their body, they had options to choose their body, but they knew that this person's not going to have a happy life, or this person's going to have some other kind of, this one's going to be an entertainer. So they didn't want to be an entertainer, and they didn't want the unhappy life. So they picked out the other one. And so we pick up, and also the angels that looked at you in awe and thought you were the most wonderful thing. And I believe it's because their love, of course, but I think it's an honor to have experienced Earth and lived there. And so, so that, because I know when I returned to my body one time, I was so excited to get back to that body. I was that because I knew it was an honor. It was an honor to me as a spirit to be of service to this physical body and have a lifetime. So
my sister who had an NDE also was so happy to come back to her body. And I do believe that what you were saying was so true when people choose the life that they will have, even if it's a difficult one. And I think we are not aware of the difficulty because we are so into that glorious light and life above any physical pain and emotion. We are excited of what we're going to learn through that body. And then when we come back, it will be amazing. So I think that's why we know what will happen. We don't have the realization of how hard it will be as a human. It's only when we become a human that we finally realize, oh my God, what did we do when we are here? You see, so I believe, thank you for sharing that portion. My sister was so happy. She jumped in. Yeah, I want to go back. They were showing Jesus. She also saw Jesus at some point, and he was showing her the map of her life if she was going back to Earth. And she was like, "Oh, I can do that. I can do that." And even though God had told her, "Are you sure you want?" The voice of God had told her, "Are you sure you want to go back to Earth? Because it's going to be very difficult for you. You can stay." Like her mission was done. No, she wanted to come back for her two daughters, and she jumped into like you, very happy to go back. So maybe you're braver than I am, because I think I was not as brave, because when I was there, I didn't want to come back. I was like, I'm done here. I can,
I was a nut heart to crack. That's why I had three. I guess each one kind of opened me up a little bit more. But regarding the children angels, because Mom was also sitting in a recliner a different day, and she was, she was going like that. Oh, and I says, "What are you doing?" She said, "The little girl. She's got her hand on my shoulder." She said that the children keep coming, and they were outside. Don't you see all the children outside the glass doors in the patio? And they want me to come with them. And I says, "Well, where are they going?" She said, "They told me they're going to the parade downtown." The parade downtown. I said, "I bet that's not Santa Claus coming." I bet it was Christ that was coming on the parade. But anyway, she chose not to go that particular day. But yes, she saw the children as well. And I also saw yeah. And I also saw Jesus when he was the first one that came through during my near-death experience. And he loved me no matter what. And I couldn't identify him at first because of all the light radiating out of him and in his heart center. And because when I had left my ball, I transformed into another shape. My blue spirit body changed into a shining orb of light. So I was shining too. So I was like the light that had entered the room from this portion, which happened to be Jesus when he grew up, and he was wearing a white robe like you were. And
it's amazing that you had such a similar experience. I'm so excited to meet. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and then Jesus was the one. I mean, Jesus held his hand out and told me it's time to come home. And but in the meantime, God, the light energy, the light energy, it came forward through the darkness too. And he had looked like he had kind of seemed like he had a cornucopia shape, because there was clouds bubbling around him. And, in the Bible, it says he will come in the clouds. So I thought that was interesting. And I could feel the rainbow colors coming out of him. And the love was overwhelming. So the entire environment is love. And while he, after I didn't want to go. So God he energetically reached out his rainbow arms and he embraced me like you were embraced by Jesus, And then God told me, he showed me many movie moments of my life and told me these moments matter, understand them. And there was like 10 to 14, I'm not really sure how many, but that's what my book is based off of, is all those moments and what the meaning behind those moments were. Because they all seem to be spiritual moments that he created in my life, and created a huge picture that is absolutely fascinating, because he does orchestrate. There's also a panel of high spiritual beings, and they glow with light too. And I was before them at one point in time, and they wanted to know what I learned about judgment, not judging people. And I had already learned that I had misjudged people. So my memories showed out across the heavens, like you had the screen, I had the heavens, and they could see where my judgment was formed. I showed them where my judgment was formed. And then I showed what I experienced in life that made me realize that I had taken on somebody else's judgment without doing my own due diligence to check things out, or I had made a judgment just based off of my life and what I was used to versus what another's life was and what they might be used to. And then so I showed them how I had learned, and they were very happy, because they were the ones that had laid out my life on how I would learn. It must have been the things I wanted to learn. And I remember specifically laughing, chuckling with them, because they were happy with me. And when I was going back to my body, I said, that was so cleverly laid out for me to learn. And I was able to grasp the learning. So these things are, we aren't fully aware here what we're here to learn, but we need to look around, because there's help around us. We just need to, like you during your lifetime followed his guidance and took the chances to reach out and get the things that you want. Some people want things to come to them, and that's not how it works. You have to take your own steps forward. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, that's beautiful what you share. It's such a gift for me to meet somebody else who has seen Jesus, who has experienced a lot of things that are similar to me. I never knew that, Janet, because we've met a couple of times, but we never shared exactly what we experienced, and it's very similar, and it also confirmed that our experience is true, because we didn't even know each other. And we both have had that experience and the understanding of lessons that we're learning on earth. And I love when you told me about Jesus and the beings of light that shines, and how, you were, the beauty of your story is that your third experience, you had already learned twice how to not judge and then be there. You see, for me, even though I was trying not to judge, and find it, but I hadn't had yet an NDE, so I was still a lot in the judgment. And so it's beautiful to learn that from your story as well. And it is true that also, I'm so excited that everything you're sharing, because, NDEs are amazing and they're very different. And it's always such a gift to find somebody who has a very similar one, because sometimes we explain, but people can imagine but not relate. So thank you about that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and the children angel, there were a lot of them too, and women angel. Do you want me to finish my my parents? I like that interactive conversation. It's so wonderful. When when I said I didn't want to come on earth, so he shifted in the air and became that huge being, like a huge hologram of half a mile high, and looked at me, and I can still see the look on me. And he said to lift my right hand, and then he said, Yvonne, I will give you. He said, I will give you my power. I will give you my energy of life. And when he said that, he put his finger here like that. And people say, well, how could he put his finger if it was half a mile high? But we know in that world, it's all energy, and it's all different, so completely different in this world here. Everything is possible. We can be in thoughts instantly with another person. We can touch it. So, and when he touched, instantly I had a waterfall of sparkling white, goldish, wet, dry, I don't know how to explain, effervescent energy that came through all my being. And I could feel it going into even my body on earth. And it was feeling every one nerve, every muscle, every single bone, cartilage, every single blood cell. It was feeling all of that with that life energy, and it was like feeling my DNA with everything. Everything was filled with that glorious, amazing light. And for some reason, he stopped at my ankle. And I never will know why. People have given all kind of situation. Yeah, because you were still with the golden road on earth. And so if he had sent, you wouldn't have gone back, because, so I don't know. And after he did that, I was just like basking in that light. It was just immense. It was like every single cell of my being, like the proton and the neutron, you see them move. And it was just feeling like that all over my body, moving and reviving it. And after that, he came back and shrinked back to my stature, and was again that being of light. And he said to me, Yvonne, I love humanity. I love everything and everyone. I love all my babies, he said. And I did think in my mind, because we still have an ability to think for ourselves over there. We're not just those angels that doesn't. And I thought to my mind, that is kind of normal. He's Jesus. He came to earth to show God's love to us, like an example how to love, like how God love is, how his unconditional love is, and he was a model of love, and he showed us how to love. And if we, so that's why today I say that I'm a Christ follower more than saying that I belong to a religion. I am a Christ follower because I want to follow his teachings of unconditional love and acceptance and healing of others. And, you know, and so I was thinking, well, this is Jesus. I mean, it's totally normal. That's what I was really thinking. It's normal that he's love and he loves everyone. And he said to me, I'll show you how. I'll show you how I love. And at that moment, he took my my heart, or my essence, the essence of who I was, the spirit essence of who Yvonne is. I didn't see, I done 1 second didn't see myself. I never saw myself. So, but I knew he was taking all my essence, all who I was, and he put it inside his heart, himself. And there's a scripture in the gospel that says, Jesus said to God, and it's somewhere in John, I never was good to, even when I went to Bible college, I never was good to find out things. But I remember him saying, God, Father, may they be one, like you and I are one. And that's exactly the feeling I felt with Jesus. I felt that oneness. I was one with Christ. He wanted me to be one with him, her, so that I could feel unconditional love for all, for everything, for everyone, for anything alive, any galaxy, any dimension, anything, everything was love, and everything was worth love and worth to be loved. And he was showing me that it was just immense. And that, Janet, I always say that every time I share my story, that I will never be able to share that in human words, because it's beyond the existence of what we could experience on Earth. It was an explosion of realities of love in all the different realities, all the different possibilities, and it's very different than what we have here. So it was just the most amazing experience. Oh my God. And then you know, when I was one with him, like I was, and I don't want to be sacrilegious, but I was Christ for a few moments because he wanted me to feel. And I know that in that world, in heaven or in the light or in the world we are coming from, we can merge with each other. We can definitely merge. If I was going to say, Janet, can I see your life on Earth? What did you do on Earth? Can I merge with you? We can merge, and I can become you to really feel everything you learn and you felt, all the pain, but the joys and the lessons, and say, wow, that was amazing. We can learn like that. We can merge in that world. And so I merged with Christ. And then at some point he demerged me, if we can say that. And at that time I knew my time was up. There was no explanation, no asking to stay. The conversation was complete, and it was time for me. And he sent me back, and I came back, and I could feel, like the first time I could feel coming back from all those dimensions, all those reality, and then reintegrating this body. And for many months, when I would wake up, I could feel my spirit quickly reintegrating my body just at the moment I was waking up. And now it's gone, but it faded away. But I always had that. As soon as I could feel my body had just quickly gone back in my body. So that was my second NDE.
Cool. There's some similarities with that too. Let's see what I wrote down here. With the coming back through dimensions. When I came back at some point, I don't know if that's in the book. It's like an elevator, and I could see the lights when flashing by from these different dimensions as I came back to my body. And let's see if there's anything else. Nope, that's it. But yes, these experiences are amazing, and that's why my channel is here, because God is bigger than anybody can ever imagine. And with the other one was the energy with him reaching down, even though he was so tall. When I was out of my body, I could feel my arms floating out to my side, and they were elongated. They, just kind of getting longer because I was no longer in the physical body. So the
believer that expand spirit.
And then because you're all energy. That's why I could transform into the bubble, because then when I formed into the orb shape, I could feel my energetic arms pulling in, and they came in like this, and then my energetic legs came up out of my body. And that's when I knew the blue spirit body was my portion of God's spirit, the Holy Spirit. So it's we all have a source inside of us, and he lives life with us.
We all come from God, or from the light from God, and we all, like you said, if we come from God, we have the element and the ingredient of God in us. That's who we are. We are those eternal, amazing beings that belongs to that amazing world, and we are an extension of God as well.
I saw the silver cord too, that connects us to heaven. Some people call it the tether, and it connects us to the body as well. So
you saw it. So maybe that's why I didn't have the light, the living light didn't stop at my ankle, actually, because maybe I was still connected with that cord.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. But it just wasn't your time to go. Get a bigger mission. So do you know what your mission is, and what we're talking about all of this? What was your mission, you think?
I was not given it, but I know I have a feeling because everywhere I have shared my NDE, and I've been I had a group leader here in the city where I led groups. People always tell me that they can feel God's love, they can feel Christ's love. And so for me, I think my mission is to share, and people feeling that. I have a French channel where I also share my story, and the French world is so, it's not like the English communities, because they don't have as many information as we have on NDEs. And every time I've shared my story, whether it's in English or in French, people feel regenerated, they feel encouraged, they feel hope, because they can feel God's love. So I think that's one of my mission, is to just give them that. And I have started, I did a meditation, afterlife meditation, which was the opening of the IANS 2020. It was used for the opening, and when I use and I'm doing those meditation, I just feel like I need to bring people in that present, in that state, so that they can experience some of it and also be encouraged because the light touches them. I think that's a healing, a gift to humanity, emotional, spiritual, and manifest God's love for them, to serve anyone who listen here, give them that gift of love. That life is worth living. We have a lot of challenges. It's hard to blend with people that are not spiritual or have never had our experience. It's really hard, especially when you have to work daily, because people are so used to negativity because they've had such a hardship in life. So the first thing will be resistance, and resistance to good things, because this world is, the energy here in this world is very heavy. The darker, the negative energy is heavier than the love energy. And that's why it's hard for people to live in that osmosis of love and light. And so most of the people are trying, but because they're not aware of the afterlife, the love, this world that's amazing, who we really are. So they let themselves into that despair. And then when there's despair, there's also unconsciously wickedness done because of survival. They want to survive. So it's really hard to live in that world, especially when you have be blended with unconditional love. But there's also beautiful thing. You can see those people are amazing. You can see how they thrive to survive. They try to be better. They thrive to succeed. And I love to encourage people. I love to just express to them the beauty of who they are, and that they can see it and be victorious over all their situation. I love to love people. So,
well, we appreciate that. The world appreciates what you're giving them from the meditations and everything. So,
thank you.
Yvonne, this was amazing, naturally.
Amazing too. I wish I could interview you in French for my channel, because I'll buy your book. I'll buy the book and read your everything, because you have given little things here and there, but I want to know more of you.
Yeah, you'll see the sparkling down in a different portion of the book too. I described it as
really?
like the Cinderella's scary fairy godmother touching me on top of the head and the little sprinkles coming down.
That's exactly that. Oh my God, that's exactly like it. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly that. Because I always struggle to explain, but that's exactly when we see in the cartoons all that sprinkle coming, and it's really that. It looks like that. So yeah.
If the audience opens their minds to what's going on around here and look at the beauty that God has created, and look for those little clues that are around, that we can make this a mystical, beautiful mystical adventure versus a negative one, because it's all in how we perceive the world. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and I do think that people like you and me and other near-death experiencers that have been to the afterlife or the before life, our real home, we are almost sent like missionary from the lights. That I always, an Australian lady interviewed me, and the title was Missionary of the Light. So we are like kind of missionaries. We're here on a mission to help people remember that they are beautiful souls, and remember to do good to others as well, and to receive good as well.
Yeah. This has been beautiful. Thank you for having come today. And I will put all of Yvonne's contact information in the description area below the video. And then as we all turn back to our daily lives, I ask that everyone journey forward with love in your heart, because that's the only thing that matters. That's what I was given when I was re-entering my body. Love is the only thing that matters. Love is the only thing that matters. It kept echoes in me thousands of times a day, and I'm sure it echoes in you thousands of times a day too. That was the message that you got. So don't forget to subscribe and like this video below, and have a great day, everybody. Namaste.
Thank you.